Well, hi guys and girls, Emma again. Welcome back to the spare room. This is just a quick workshop update. There's a few things that are sort of happening and projects that we've got on and stuff that didn't get a lot of progress today. This weekend's been a painting weekend and I'm not going to show you that because it is for a viewer, and if you want to jump over on my Instagram you'll see what it looks like now. I guess that person can sort of make up their mind whether they want to look at it or not. Anyway, a couple of new stickers. I don't think I covered them. Bundy Bear Shed, Lance Maskell up in Queensland, or further up in Queensland. Go check him out. He's a great guy. Interesting channel. JB from Oz over in Western Australia. Also a great guy. Excellent channel. Little channel. Does some cool stuff. Go and check him out. There's one from Maple Lane, Brad Jacob. That come. And one from Scott Tyndall. And one from Shark River Machine. I don't know if you can see that. And one from Shark River Machine. So they're the cool new stickers on the board this week. There's an awesome letter come from Malk of Lincoln. He's a YouTuber in England. The world famous Malk of Lincoln. Awesome guy. Gentleman. Has an Nuffield tractor and does a lot of cool mechanic stuff and builds a lot of interesting things. He sent this book, which is Castle's Book of Sports and Pastimes Illustrated. Now, googling this, I believe that this was printed in a series, and this is part 13 of 15. The Google date I could find was 1896, and this is pretty cool. It's for 1896, it's got someone on the front skinny dipping in a lock or in a canal, and it's got a cricket player, and it's got some rowers, and it's got a golfer and probably a rugby team in their long socks and knickerbockers, and a cyclist, and a mountain climber maybe, or a rope climber, and some rackets and things on the front. Love these books. This one's pretty cool. It's got everything from macrame to tunes to play on spoons to parlour games, things like Postman's Knocker, musical chairs, toys to make, things like that. Pretty cool book. So that turned up a while back along with a couple of nice rings. Go and have a look at Malk's channel. He makes rings from coins. They are pretty cool. And he sent me a couple, so I'm pretty lucky there. They are nice. Another awesome haul was it was a swap really, from Cameron Lowe up at Gatton in Queensland, who, if you recall, I had a tool post grinder that I brought back from overseas, and it was really too big for my machine, so I offered it up as a trade. And Cameron got in touch and said I'd like that, so I sent it up to him, and he was moving and cleaning out his bookshelf, and he sent back a box of books, which is pretty cool. There's some awesome stuff here and a lot of cool projects which may or may not happen. This one is called The Simple Lathe and its accessories, fully illustrated. Amateur Mechanic and Work Handbook. These were really good books with the red covers if you can find them. A bit outdated maybe, but some cool stuff in them. It's published by Castles in London as well. Some cool stuff in here. If you have a look on my Instagram, some of these things in here that I've already sort of gone to the trouble of drawing up. Whether they'll ever make it to project status, I'm not sure. Something that I would like to make in this book, I believe it was in this book, is some drawings there for elevation and section of a chuck for oval metal turning. This is a pretty cool little project. I've drawn it out in CAD to see how it works. It is quite complicated because there needs to be a slide this way as well as a slide this way, and it's got a dovetail across the front. I did draw this up, and at some point we might go into it at some detail if I can find someone to cast the base for it and some of the bits. In Australia, cast iron casting hasn't happened on a small commercial scale at the moment, so I'm not sure when that's going to happen. That's a cool book. Another book that a few people have been interested in is this one. It's missing the cover. The simple lathe accessories and how to make them. Things like boring bars and like lubricators and jacks and production accessories. All fairly basic stuff. Overhead drives, lapping tables, dividing appliances. Cool books, lots of cool projects. Some of them are a bit outdated. Some of them are really more than current for a lot of purposes. So we might have a look at them a bit later on. There was a Dyke's Automobile Encyclopedia, I think it's 1942 edition. This is an awesome book. I have a PDF that I've looked through a few times, but this is, a lot of it's a bit dry. If you want to know how to wire your car in 1942, it's probably all in here. But when you get over to precision tools for the mechanic and taps and dies, files, if you see a copy around at the right price, grab it because it's good reading. There's some model car books and the die-cast tin plate toy books. They're pretty cool actually, and I'm not even going to comment on projects that might happen out of these books, but the things that I'm thinking about. There's one called Farm Tractors in Colour that I think we used to have in our bookshelf. I probably got a copy of this in Tasmania. It's got all the cool things in it. There's a tubal cane book on building the Williamson engine. That's T.D. Walsall from England. There's a manual on building that, and one on building the Overcrank Georgina, which are both, I believe, engines that Stuart Models offer as kits. They're both fairly small and fairly fiddly little engines. Whether that'll ever happen, someone said I could scale them up. And he sent some drawings for a flame liquor engine, which is Jan Ritter's design, and some hot air engines, working beam engine, coffee cup Sterling. Very cool. Thanks, Cameron. Really appreciate that. It's all arrived. There's some pretty cool stuff there. At some point, now I've shown them, they'll go on the bookcase. But there are projects in these books that I would like to build, but we'll see if we live long enough. What else are we working on? These 10 little tap wrenches. There's not a lot of progress. I've put the tapers on the other ends. Next job is to drill them and tap them. Bit of work in these. I haven't made a lot of progress this weekend, but there's a series of videos. The first one's up. Go and have a look if you haven't seen it already. Now my friend John Pettit in Brisbane, a great guy, and he was the person I went to with the Bridgeport mill to surface off this little surface plate. Really nice guy, helpful, has a pretty crazy sort of a work output on tools and things. There's lots of things he makes, and it's always interesting to talk to him and to find out what he's been up to. He sent me some goodies, which is really nice of him. There's a set of Starrett trammels, which I've used twice already. Really nice set. It's pretty special to have them. I really appreciate that. They're going to have to be a payback time at some point, John, for some of this stuff. Another thing he said was in this box. This is an optical flat. I haven't really messed with it, and probably I won't. There's not a lot of point having something like this in my workshop because I can't produce surfaces that can be measured with this. However, it's a learning opportunity, and hopefully I'll get some video when I start making around with it. I've got to find a light source, I guess, and maybe we can all learn something. But that's a pretty cool thing. Another thing I brought back is some knurls. Now we've stuffed up here because these are all left hand and the ones he's got are all right hand, so we need to go back and have a bit of a look and organise some pairs. Now we know what we're looking at. So I'm sorry about that, John, but we will sort that out. There's a few other little bits and pieces that he sent, and I'm really appreciative of them. Some case hardening compound is good to have, and I've used it already. A few little things like that. It's good to know you, John. Now, this I think is a brand new vise. Picked this up off of Pika recently. It's a Stanley vise. As some of you probably know, that there's no vise on this bench, and when I start, there's no vise on this bench, and when I start messing around trying to finish and file components on camera, I can either go around the corner there in the dark to my heavy vise, or I could find something, and I've been looking for a while. This is not a bad little Stanley vise, which is an Australian tool company. Stanley have been going for a long time. I think they're part of Record now. And I thought, I'll just put this in the corner and it'll be a fairly useful thing, and I can take it off when it's in the way. But it doesn't actually fit my bench top here, so I'm going to make a little gusset to go in the corner of the bench here to clamp it on, and that's going to be a fairly useful thing. Hopefully it's not too rattly. It seems to have hardened drawers, all those sort of things, so I don't think anyone's ever used that. It was a bit of a score. Also picked up this one for next to nothing from a Pika. That's a fairly decent little, I guess it's a grinding vise or a milling vise or a drill press vise someone's made. There's no drill holes or anything. It's been looked after. It needs a good clean up. It's quite a well made thing. Might find a trademark on it when I clean it up, but I doubt it. There's hardly any backlash in the thread. It's really quite a nice thing. I don't think it's just a school project, but I might give that a clean up at some point too, and find a use for that. So that's another project. as we keep going, these get more and more obscure, and I apologise for that. This is an air compressor. I don't think there's a lot wrong with it. I've drained the oil, and the oil that was in it is kind of brown and thick like condensed milk, so it's had a bit of water in it and probably condensation. My original thought when I picked this up for next to nothing, or for nothing, was to make a little engine out of it, and that may still happen. It's only got a bell crank in it, so if there's any gearing or anything, it's got to come off this end of the crank, or you've got to make another housing on here with a follower for the crank, which is a lot of messing around. So it's probably not in bad order, I don't think. Probably what I'm going to do is do it up and put a set of rings and gaskets in it and find an electric motor for it and use it as the air compressor. So we'll see. It's a Macmillan Versatile, it's made in Melbourne. So it's probably not a bad air compressor. I don't think there's a lot wrong with it. That a set of rings and a bit of a clean up won't hurt. So that's another project, and probably one that may or may not have something done to it in the next 12 months. The 3D printer it needs a new hot end, and it's on order, but I've been trying to get on top of things, other things that are more important, before I've actually ordered the parts. Eventually that'll turn up, and there's little projects that need to be done before then, so we've put that on hold for a little while. There's projects that I've got half done, so I really need to get it back up and running pretty soon. This little boiler, Eugene, starting to look pretty good. Silver soldered top and bottom. I can't see any pinholes in that. I did have a pretty close look. Someone pointed out what looked like it could have been one on Instagram, but I don't think it is, and I reckon it's probably pretty good joint all the way around. Next job with this is to put the bushes in, and fire hole door, and that's sort of the next thing with that, and start to make some fittings. So that's an update on that. Another job that is sort of starting to come together and needs me to stop procrastinating and get the hacksaw out is this lump of cast iron. I wanted to make a clapper box or an American style or lantern style clapper box for my shaper, just to make it a little bit more useful. And I've got this lump of cast iron, so really it only needs to be about that long, and it only needs to be about sort of that wide, and probably I nearly get 2 out of this block, 3 nearly, but it's a matter of cutting it up to size, and then once I've got that done I'll get started on that, because it's an interesting project. Anyway, that's about it for a workshop update. It's a pretty brief video. Hope I haven't bored everyone silly. There's some pretty cool stuff happening. There's a million projects, and the longer I go on, the bigger the list is. This kind of gets inside your head a bit. I'm kind of put the surface plate on hold until I get a box made for it. There'll be a couple more videos out about that before I really do anything about scraping videos, so don't hold your breath on that. And that's about it. So thanks for watching. Be kind to each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. I'm only about 50 subscribers off 3,000. There will be a giveaway when I get to 3,000, promise. And it'll be a pretty good one. I've got something lined up for that. So, yep, like and subscribe and all that stuff. And more soon, guys and girls.